Alrighty. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lene Willis, licensed therapist in Maryland, West Virginia, and Ohio. And today we are having a very interesting topic. Today we'll be talking a little bit more about empowerment in relationships and within oneself, which is a very important aspect to the series that we've been running on relationship counseling, group counseling. And joining me for this conversation is Imani Capri. I'm so excited. I wish there was a way that I could put some applause in here. So interestingly enough, I actually met Imani through a collaboration with another company. We were on this panel for business owners, actually all women, all Black women. Yes. And I had the pleasure of meeting Imani Capri. And let me just tell you a little bit more about this dynamic woman. She is the #1 energy elevation coach, and she's on a mission to help millions of people around the world to transform their relationship with fear and stagnation by helping them to find the keys to unlock deeper levels of courage, healing, happiness, transformation, and elevation. Imani is an experienced international motivational speaker, international best-selling author, certified Reiki practitioner, and meditation guide. Yes, we need all of those in our lives. She's also the creator and host of the Conversations in Courage with Imani Capri radio show on 95.9 FM, WOVU Cleveland. And audiences around the world can tune in by visiting www.wovu.org and clicking Listen Now on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. She has appeared on various media outlets to include CBS National Morning and Evening News, the Christian Science Monitor magazine, Cleveland News Media, WKYC Channel 3, WEWS Channel 5, WERE AM 1490 Radio, and Florida Radio WFSCU. She has also been published multiple times in the Canton Repository newspaper, nationally distributed Buddhist publications, Living Buddhist, the magazine, and the World Tribune newspaper, on the website of the Chicago-based Faces and Voices Project, and as a contributing author in Things We Haven't Said, Survivors of Sexual Violence Speak, published in March 2018 with Zest Books. In 2020, she was a featured speaker on Les Brown and John Tallarico's Power Voice Summit. And in September 2002, she was appointed officially sworn in as a precinct person for the Democratic Central Committee in Maple Heights, Florida. Additionally, Ms. Capri holds a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism and a master's degree in digital storytelling and marketing from Kent State University. You guys give me, please join in with celebrating this dynamic speaker. So happy to have her here, Miss Imani Capri.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that awesome introduction, and more importantly, for the opportunity to be here. I'm so happy to connect with you again. We definitely had a vibe when we first met, and we're participating on that panel. And hey to all your listeners who are watching now or who will see this later.
Thank you so much for agreeing to participate in this conversation. When I knew I was doing this series, I knew for sure I wanted you to be a part of it, because in so many parts of our lives, one of the resounding themes or issues that I've seen kind of coming back as a repetitive theme in a lot of my therapy sessions and in group sessions with couples, I recognize that a lot of people do not have any motivation, any self-motivation. So I wanted to take this opportunity to, of course, end this series with talking about how do we now go forward with implementing all the things that we've discussed throughout the session. So previous conversations we've spoken about, most recently was spirituality and religion in relationships, how those things could impact a relationship, as well as spiritual abuse. We spoke about trauma. We spoke about attachment issues, love, sex, lies, physical abuse, sexual abuse. We packed a great punch.
Yes.
In the 6 hours sessions that we've had. So bringing it to an end, we have Miss Imani Capri. And today, the objectives that we hope to cover, because I know conversations can kind of go on, but we hope to cover how programming about traditional roles impact our ability to find encouragement within ourselves, how we can evaluate our lives based on the relationships that we're in, whether it's romantic or otherwise. And then two healthy holds make healthy relationship, and how we fuel motivation by cultivating greatness.
Yes.
So, Mr. Imani, I want to toss it over to you. I'm sorry, excuse me, you guys, I have a little bit of a cold. So if you see me using my tissue, just pardon me. I hope it doesn't distract from the conversation.
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
So first off, I want to say congratulations for talking about all those really important topics as it pertains to relationships. And I think this is so timely because on my radio show tomorrow at 11 a.m., Conversations in Courage, we are talking about how conscious creation is a courageous act of self-love, especially when it comes to relationships. And we are focusing in on how to start breaking the pattern of trauma bonding and what is the difference between true love and trauma bonding relationships. So I hope people will tune into the show. We could share more information about that before we log off, but I think this is very important when we discuss, finding self-motivation and how we are programmed in society or have been, because I believe that there are a lot of changes happening within society.
Yes.
But we have traditionally been programmed into men playing a certain role in society, in relationship, women playing a certain role in society and in relationship. What I could say first off is I think every great relationship, whether it is a personal, intimate relationship, a business relationship, or family relationship, really comes down to what the individuals participating in those relationships agree upon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing, right? The second thing, again, I am the #1 energy elevation coach, and part of my mission is to help people, transform their relationship with fear and stagnation and get back in touch with, or maybe discover their authentic self.
Right.
And I think that when we talk about being able to tap into our individual empowerment, you cannot be happy where you are not honest. You cannot be empowered if you don't have the courage to embrace and live in whatever your truth is at any particular given time. And I think we as adults all know that, if you have survived, now I'm in my early 40s, but if you have lived a little life, then many of us have had different experiences during that time. Many of us have probably gone through spaces and phases where we have molded our person around the desires and wishes of other people, right? And then sometimes we find ourselves maybe a little bit lost from who we really are because we are so enmeshed in trying to fulfill certain roles, whether it's a role that society has projected upon us, whether it's a role that, we've maybe been raised to believe this is how a wife behaves, this is how a husband behaves, this is how a mother or father behave. So, one of the things that I help teach clients that I work with, and whether it's through Reiki, meditation, or even, through my radio show, is helping people to start thinking about when is the last time you really checked in with what your truth is?
Right.
Independent from any roles that have been projected upon you. What is your truth in this moment right now? I have had the great honor and privilege the last year of having a new mentor come into my life who's a shaman. And one of the things that has been reminded to me in my own spiritual journey right now is that all of our relationships really ultimately mirror the relationship we have with ourselves. So even inside of healthy relationships, I believe part of what makes relationships healthy and functional is because the individuals in those relationships are true to who they are. They understand who they are, right? They stay in alignment with what's authentic for them. and they have clear communication with the partners involved about how do we have relationship with each other, but still be who we are, not imposing certain things on each other. You know, one of the things that I also was talking with my shaman, shout out to Shaman Rock, because I know he's going to watch this, right? But one of the things that he teaches is love allows.
I love that.
Love allows. It doesn't dictate. It doesn't control. It doesn't demand. It doesn't impose conditions. Now, boundaries and conditions are not the same thing. Boundaries are very healthy, right? But love actually allows a person to be who they are. It allows people to go through the processes that they need to go through to continue to grow. So I think, you know, when you talk about how do we find encouragement with ourselves, given the backdrop of traditional roles, put the traditional roles to the side if they don't feel like they really align with who you are and what your truth is. It's the first step.
I like how you said that, because let me see, I'm hearing a little bit of an echo. Oh. So I like how you said that, because there's a part of, when we had this discussion, we were talking about the topic. I'd mentioned to you how there are some individuals that enter into a relationship and they become their partner in the relationship. So they mirror their partner's behavior in the relationship. Sometimes it could be because they were taught that that's what they should do when they enter into a relationship, or because they feel like they need to satisfy their partner by mirroring that behavior. And so if they're marrying or if they're dating someone who is into hip hop, then, you know, they're into hip hop and all of this stuff. And then if they're dating someone who was into, you know, electric music, then they're into electric music and they're, you know, doing that. And you don't want to just change who you are in the presence of other people because you're in the presence of other people. You want to change who you are because you're coming around to who you are in the inside, who you feel comfortable, and you're willing to make those changes for yourself, not for anyone else. And if there are no changes that you need to make, then you don't need to make them. But, you know, recognize that if you are making a change, that you're doing it for yourself and not for your relationship. And I love that thought you said when you said love allows. Yes. Love will allow you to be whomever you choose to be in that relationship. And if you're in a relationship and you're not experiencing that, then there's definitely something that you need to evaluate in your relationship.
That's right. That's right. There are two things that I thought of when you were speaking, and we talk about mirroring in a relationship. I want to revisit the concept of mirroring, but two questions I think we all should ask ourselves when we are in a relationship or considering new relationships, and especially personal, intimate relationships. First of all, why do you want to be in a relationship?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, keep it
100
with yourself. Okay. Because listen, there are a lot of people out here, and I'm gonna keep it real. I may be spouting off all this wisdom and, you know, helping people elevate their energy through, you know, getting that deeper courage. But this is because of what I have lived in my own life, right? So I've had a trauma bond boo, okay? who I thought was true boo, and it wasn't, you know, and I've had that experience more than once. I'm in my 40s, so I get it, right? I'm not speaking from the mountaintop as though I haven't had to climb my own mountains, right? But the first question I think we always need to ask ourselves is, why do I want a relationship and why do I need a relationship? Because a lot of times when we still have some inner healing to do, if we aren't courageous enough to go deep into that healing, sometimes we hide in relationships. We look for a relationship with another person to somehow validate something within us, or to avoid dealing with the things that we need to deal with. Sometimes a relationship may be, a crutch that we use to kind of tranquilize the trauma we don't want to address. And then we get in that relationship and wonder why the hell it ain't as smooth as we thought it should be, right? This is where mirroring comes in. Shaman Ra also teaches that what's on the inside manifests on the outside. I'm also a practitioner of Nichiren Buddhism and chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo like Tina Turner in the movie What's Love Got to Do with It, right? One of the things that Nichiren Buddhism also teaches is that our environment and our circumstances are a reflection of our inner state of life. So the truth is, if you are in a relationship where you are not happy, or you find yourself attracting the same relationship, but in different people, that is your environment. That is your life mirror, literally showing you in 3D form the areas where you still need to heal and clean up on the inside. So, you know, that first question that I would encourage your audience to ask when you're in a relationship is, why am I in a relationship? Why do I want a relationship? Why do I need a relationship? The second question I would tell and encourage people to consider or ask, what has bonded you with your partner? What are you bonded around?
That's a good question.
You know, because if you come together, I'm giving away some jewels from the show. Y'all got to tune in for show tomorrow. But what you bond around with your partner is ultimately what you are going to amplify.
Yeah.
So if you come together on the basis of something negative, you will likely have negative energy that gets amplified in that relationship, right? And so this is why it's very important to take our time and do the work that we need to do to become whole within ourselves. Whole and perfect don't have to be the same thing.
Right.
Right. So I think, I don't know, those are two questions that I would just encourage audience listeners to really consider. And if you're already in a relationship, I think it's important to have open, honest communication with your partner regularly. You know, I said this on the show, a recording for my show. I said, I'm currently single, but I said in my next relationship, I really would be an advocate for having maybe like a year 2, year 3 kind of check-in, right? Let's not continue staying together just off the assumption of all the time we have been. Let's, you know, and even if I were married, I would say, well, hey, let's create our marriage in such a way that, you know, year 2, year 3, you still happy? Are you still wanting to do this? Like, are we growing together? Are there some things we maybe need to reconsider? Because who you are when you start a relationship really shouldn't be the same person 5 years down the road, right? Hopefully we're continually growing and evolving. But one of the things I have found in my own personal experience is that oftentimes when the relationship between myself and my partner didn't work, part of it was because of where we were unwilling to match each other in growth. I may have been willing to jump deep into healing and cleaning up my trauma, and they weren't ready yet. So I think that these are important things to consider when we're talking about tapping into being self-motivated, independent from traditional roles of relationships, and also in terms of creating wholeness in order to have healthy relationships.
Right. And so just to kind of create a little bit of a backdrop to what what we've been referencing so much, the traditional roles. Traditional roles, when we talk about that, we're referencing some of those like gender related roles that may exist. So women do the cleaning and the cooking and things like that. You know, men might take care of the cars or the yard work and things like that. So it's really those roles based on your culture, your ethnicity, your sex, family beliefs, or any religion even, and as well as a mixture of any of these things. And so we talk about the programming of those traditional roles. And there was something that you spoke about, you know, the connecting to the same type of person over and over again. And it most likely coming from us having not resolved a specific issue that just, you know, we're almost like we're married to that issue. So we just keep finding it in just different people. The reason why we end up experiencing that is because in some ways we're programmed the way that we're raised. Someone who was a part of our childhood, and we spoke a little bit about this maybe about 2 weeks ago. someone that we were raised with that took care of us, that whether it was a caregiver by way of a parent, or a guardian, like a grandparent, a cousin, an uncle, aunt, older sibling, you name it. Someone in our family experienced or demonstrated the behaviors that we find in other people that we find attractive. Whether
Yes.
we are intentionally looking into that relationship because we are interested in connecting to those things. So say for instance, my father is very dependable. I ended up marrying a man that's very dependable because that's something that I wanted in my relationship because it was my experience growing up, right? Now, if you experience abuse, kind of day-to-day abuse, things like that, you are end up attracted to certain traits of people who mirror, again, there's that word, mirror some of the behaviors from our childhood, from those childhood experiences. And so again, if those things remain unresolved, then we continue to perpetuate the same problem, relationship to relationship to relationship, because it's where we're comfortable.
Yes.
Which is we become so accustomed to certain things that happen in our childhood that we cannot help ourselves but to connect to it in other ways.
Yes.
So what Imani, what you spoke about, that's it right there.
And there's something else I want to interject too, sis. It's just that courage requires you to step outside your comfort zone.
Yes.
And what do we all know is comfortable? Caskets are comfortable. Right? Where things go to die.
Yes.
So if you are complacent with staying in your comfort zone, there's no growth in the comfort zone. There's no transformation in a comfort zone.
Right.
You have to be willing to step outside of that comfort zone into your courage zone, right? And when we step into the courage zone, it doesn't mean that we don't have fear. It doesn't mean that we all have all the answers of what we step in courageously into.
Right.
But it means making that commitment to taking the action for change to happen. And a lot of times, I think the greatest disservice that happens in the world today on multiple levels, religion, media, politics, you name it, there is a consistent thread through all of those about sorry about that, about getting us to seek answers, wisdom, validation, and fulfillment outside of ourselves.
Yes.
And the truth is, we were all made whole and complete. We have everything that we need within, but we stay so distracted from being able to tune in, to tap in, to listen and hear what those answers are, or, whatever your faith practice or walk is, whatever the God of your understanding is. We have prayer, right? And then we need to take some time to be quiet, to listen, to receive the answers. What's that called? Meditation. You know what I'm saying? So I think that in order, again, to be a healthy partner, we have to have some practical ways of how we are cultivating a healthy relationship within ourselves. When we talk about the mirror, this is a universal principle. When we clean up what's on the inside, that gets mirrored in our environment. And
Absolutely.
I think what is phenomenal and what I am believing for in my own life is when people in a relationship are mirroring courage to grow together. When people in a relationship are mirroring true partnership in supporting that growth, supporting whatever healing may still need to be done, even if it's an acknowledgement like, hey, we might have came together in chaos, but let's both take responsibility for cleaning up what we need to clean up individually and together, right? I think that's a very beautiful thing. So the answers come from looking within and putting aside distractions long enough to really be able to hear what is it that you need. And then be courageous enough to take those actions and those steps, like getting therapy with a therapist, or listening to conversations like this.
Right. Agreed. And I think a lot of the times that we like trip up over finding the motivation or becoming empowered ourselves is because we may not find value within ourselves.
Yes.
And so when you find yourself, feeling unhappy, that's when you realize, I'm not operating at the capacity of my value.
Mm-hmm.
That's really an indication that that's when you need the empowerment. And the only way to achieve it is to actually take that step.
Yes.
And I think when people see other people, encouraging, like, Mr. Imani, this is what you do, right? You encourage other people, you empower people, women to step out, to move to that next level. And I think if people see you as a speaker, they're probably a little, concerned, like, well, she just seems so confident. She has it all together.
Can we go there?
Yes.
Let's go. I'm ready to go there. Okay. So many people look at me and they may see a variety of things. They may think I am put together in a certain type of way. They'll have different impressions of me, maybe based on how I look, how I articulate myself, and what you heard in my bio. But the truth is, I have had my own mountains to scale in order to transform my own life. Looking at me, you wouldn't necessarily think or know that I survived almost a decade of childhood sexual abuse. You wouldn't look at me and necessarily know that I was estranged from my biological mother for 11 years. We didn't speak. My biological father for 15 years, we didn't speak. And other siblings of mine for 15 years. You wouldn't necessarily know that I had a nervous breakdown and was in a mental hospital for a week. You wouldn't necessarily know that, I ran for a political office almost 2 years ago. And not only did I lose, but I had a major issue going on with my ankle that almost potentially put me at risk of losing my foot. You know what I'm saying? So I say all these things, not to gross you out, but to really demonstrate to you that when you take responsibility for your life, when you take responsibility for looking in your environment and saying, what's on the inside manifests on the outside, it may not mean that it doesn't necessarily mean that things are your fault, but it does mean that it's your responsibility to clean it up. So in the case of the abuse that I went through, it took me, quite a long time to get to a place of deep, deep healing with that. Years of therapy, practicing Nichiren Buddhism helped me to tap into understanding that my life intrinsically has value, no matter what I experience, right? A lot of times the kernels of our purpose are found in our pain. But what has to happen is a perspective shift. And you need to be around people that can help you shift that perspective and help give you tools. For me, chanting Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and studying Nichiren Buddhism was a powerful tool. I was able, through my practice of Buddhism and through many years of therapy, to find the courage to prosecute my abuser. And so now he's serving 20 plus years in prison, right? That whole process enabled me to be able to find my voice. There was a lot of healing that I needed to do over the years in terms of, my openness for relationship. And listen, I've had several relationships and I don't regret those relationships at all. But one thing that I can look back and say now is those relationships and what caused them not to work reflected aspects of where I was. There was still a part of me that had to heal, feeling like I was enough. There was still a part of me that had to heal this way that I had been programmed into. In order to be validated, you have to perform. Right. So in a way, I became addicted to accomplishments because in achieving things, I got accolades. You understand? So it's I don't want to delve too deep. I know that this is not necessarily, the topic of what we are saying, but I share all that to say that when you see me and whatever you perceive about me, when you see me and hear my bio, is because I put in that work. I'm about that self-transformation life. And
Yeah.
my life is totally different today than what it once was. There's a metaphor in Nichiren Buddhism that I love. It's about the lotus. And it basically states that, lotus flowers grow in these murky, muddy swamps. And it is said that the more muddy the swamp, the more beautiful the lotus blossom that emerges. Why is this? Because the more muddy the swamp, the more dense the mud is, the more nutrients are in that mud that will feed that lotus blossom to be its fullest potential, its fullest beauty, right? So the metaphor is that the same is true for us in life. The obstacles, the traumas, the pain, all that stuff is really contains the nutrients of our greatness. But we have to be willing to, have that perspective shift, be willing to do the work to heal so that your greatness can blossom and emerge. But all the ingredients are right there within. We just have to go inside, not always looking outside for the answers.
Right. I think too, when you spoke about that, I was thinking, that makes sense because of all the nutrients that exist in the soil, right? And so I want people to take away from that beauty comes from you making a choice to create your nutrients, and not that your nutrients are or that you are fed from other people, right? The interesting part about this, as far as like becoming empowered and becoming motivated, is you doing that evaluation on your life and realizing, I need these things to help me move forward. And even if I don't have everything all at this time, because I'm in this process, I'm still going to take that step forward. I can still take that step forward. I don't need to have everything be perfect in order for me to start taking those steps. And I think sometimes too, we're also waiting to achieve perfection or having all of our ducks kind of lined up in a row before we initiate anything. And the reality is that initiating doesn't mean that you're driving blindly, without directions. It just means that you're willing to move forward. You're willing to take a step forward, whatever it takes, so that you can provide the nutrients needed for yourself from within, so that then it can blossom and show.
Yes.
And not that you're doing, these things to get attention, right? But by doing so, you never know who you might be encouraging along the way. And as you're doing so, you're continuing to encourage yourself.
Absolutely.
There's this song, I can't even remember who sings it, but it talks about speaking over yourself and encouraging yourself.
Yeah.
And how doing so helps with motivating yourself. You don't necessarily have to wait to receive motivation from other people. You have to find that from within, because who's going to continue allowing that to grow? It's going to be you. You may not always have a cheerleader. It's great to have a support unit. That's very valuable to have support, whether it's biological family or your other, family that you've assigned, that can support you along the way. But at the end of the day, you still have to have the motivation within yourself to get to, the points and to the top of that mountain that you spoke about. And we have to do so not on the coattails of other people by dragging them down or, doing those things. We have to do so honestly, with ourselves. And if we have a partner that we can do it with, that can encourage us along the way, then great. Then that works out. It's perfect. But we have to not diminish the power that we have within ourselves, where if we aren't connected to someone, then we can't be great.
That's right. And so that song is the gospel song. And I believe it's called Sometimes You Have to Encourage Yourself. You have to speak victory over yourself during the test, right? That we all know, we've heard this said many times, there can be no testimony without a test, right? And so I would just encourage your audience that, to remember that courage is the catalyst for change.
Yes.
Maya Angelou once said, of all the virtues, courage is the most important, because without courage, you cannot practice any of the others, right? So whatever it is that you desire for your relationship with a partner or with yourself, one of the first steps is having courage. Courage, I think, to be honest with yourself, and then courage to be honest with your partner. The second thing, choice. Choice is a powerful thing that I think we sometimes take for granted. The ability to choose is power. The ability to choose is power. That means you get to decide what you want to give your energy to. And where attention and energy flows, that grows, right? So if we have courage and we are intentional about what we choose to do with that courage, then those are two practical ways that we begin creating transformation. And then, I have another thing that I say, that real life energy elevation equals real life transformation. What that means is when you take responsibility for learning how to work with your own energy, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and energetically, because life is a big mirror, when you start working on the inside, it creates real outside transformation. So I just wanted to interject that in there to response to what you just said.
And to something that you said, you were talking about the motivation, how we fuel motivation. One of the other objectives that I wanted to go through, and we have a few more minutes left, so we have enough time to discuss it. We're talking about the healthy holes, right? And being a healthy version of yourself, so that within a relationship, you're not utilizing that relationship to help you with healing. As a motivational energy coach, what are some ways that you would say, well, first of all, do you believe that you can heal while dating? And
yes, but
I was going to say, and if there's a but, what? Yeah. Please verify or explain that but.
So, I am a firm believer that everybody comes into our life for a particular reason. Sometimes there are relationships that we are divinely assigned to help us heal, right? So, but the but part of my answer is the difference between, I think, maybe some of those divinely appointed relationships to help you heal versus using a relationship as a tool to help it, to avoid doing some of the healing work, is that if you come into a relationship at such a place where you are broken, and maybe not even recognizing how broken you are, then how much does your partner really get to be a partner versus your therapist? That's not fair. It's not fair to impose. It is not fair to impose the expectation or the responsibility of what you need to heal on another person because you have made the decision to come together and be intimate or share certain experiences together. Just because somebody loves you does not mean that they have to be your full-time therapist. And sometimes when we get into relationships with people, instead of keeping it real up front, we use love as the cover page to get somebody to fill in the holes that we have been too cowardly to address ourselves.
Make it plain, sis.
So, and that will always, listen, anything that is built on the ego, and the ego is always looking to reason, manipulate, control, validate, protect, survive. The ego isn't all the way bad, but the ego should always come in service of love, right? And first, self-love. So if you really love, then give yourself what you need. Don't put that on another person to somehow have to meet all these conditions.
Yes.
In order for you to then feel loved and to give love. I think the greatest decision, if you really want a phenomenal relationship, then I think the greatest thing that you can do is really do an assessment on where am I with my own self-love. Because I can say today, even though I'm not coupled up at the moment, where I am with my self-love relationship is so significantly improved, even than just 2-3 years ago, that I actually look forward to the next relationship that I will be in because I know I have more to offer as a partner, right? So yes, you can heal within a relationship, but don't be a project, boo. I mean, for real.
I know what you're talking about.
And listen, if you
had to save a hose.
That's right. And if you in denial about it, take inventory of your relationship history.
Yes.
Have you dated several people who have all kind of said the same thing about you and what wasn't working? Maybe it's not that they all were beating up on you. Maybe that was just the mirror of your life showing you where there's still dysfunction manifesting in your life that you need to heal. You know what I'm saying? So I think there is a level of healing that takes place in relationships, and partners support each other in that. But you should not be coming into a relationship where your healing is a massive construction site. That's just my opinion. Right? I'm just saying.
You just say I'm a very visual person. So you said that I saw two people helping each other with a bundle. And then when you said it became a construction site, I saw the couple approaching a scene where it's just bulldozed area, all this dirt.
How many times have we been in a relationship, or let's keep it real, look back and realize we were with someone, or maybe we ourselves were the construction site, the under construction project, but we put up the sign of, ready for I don't know, I don't want to say rent, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Like open for business.
Open for business.
Damn well. Brains behind this sign is cement stirring over here. This ain't ready to receive people. What you talking about? And then, but because you have a nice cover page, the sign looks nice and the little lobby looks cleaned up. Somebody says, oh, this looks nice. I think I'll walk in here and check it out. Maybe have a cocktail. Then they walk on a little bit further to the back and see it's a whole hot ass mess. Now, explain. How are you going to have a healthy, functional relationship in that?
You can.
It doesn't work.
It's going to fall apart.
No. When you talked about feeding a fuel for motivation, think about, our bodies and how we eat, right? Look at what you're consuming. If you're trying to reignite your motivation, you need to feed yourself things that help reignite that energy. So what are you listening to? Who are you entertaining? Right? Are you paying attention to how you feel on the inside? Emotions are information. Don't ignore how you feel. What are you eating? I keep it so real with you. So much of what we eat has an impact on how we feel emotionally. Yes. And also how much we are able to connect with our inner selves and our higher selves spiritually. I am going through keto right now, and for a second time, and I realized, like, man, it's incredible how much more clear and focused and tapped in I feel when I'm not doing sugar. The hardcore way that I have done at different times, right? So you have to look at, what am I watching? What am I listening to? What am I putting in my body? Are you listening to music or content that is actually fueling the direction you want to move in? Look at the people that surround you. Are you hanging out with people or spending your time with people who match with the energy of where you're trying to go? Right? There is a teacher out there that says the 5 people that we hang around with the most is who we become. So if you don't feel motivated, if you're lacking self-motivation, who have you been spending time with? Where are you investing your energy, right? What are people pouring into your ears? Start setting boundaries. Boundaries are a beautiful, beautiful thing. I always think boundaries protect things of value and things that are sacred. If you have no boundaries, that's one step of how you start to, refueling, setting boundaries, being very intentional about what you are feeding yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually. There are plenty of things on YouTube. There's an awesome radio show called Conversations and Courage with your girl, Imani Capri, that airs on Tuesdays at 11, WOVU.org and the WOVU app. where we talk about all kinds of content that is meant to uplift and help you tap into your courage. So anytime we want to create change in our lives, we have to be intentional about it. That construction site is not going to come into proper order just by wishing it to be so. You have to have the courage to start taking action to clean up.
Wow, Imani, you have dropped so much knowledge on us today. I
This
cannot
was
wait.
fun.
I cannot wait to share and advertise this this session, because I feel like maybe we should have started out with this to get people, started on the journey of self-reflection and growth. Because
Yes.
that's the way that we get started with fixing any of the issues that we have within. Everything that
Yes.
you said, 100%. I co-sign,
Yes.
stamp that thing. I agree with it. Is there anything else, any other pieces of knowledge or information, or even upcoming events that you have
Yes.
on that can be encouraging to us?
I'm so happy that you asked. So first of all, I would love for your listeners to follow me on Instagram. I am _Imani Capri. I would love to give you a free gift of an episode of my show where we talk about how to really step into the new me in 2023 energy, right? You hear a lot of people say this, but guess what? It's going to be the same you as 2022, boo, if you're not doing something different. Okay. So my platform of the radio show, I have two awesome co-hosts there, Dr. Shaman Ra, who is a shaman, one of my mentors, and Dr. Kareem R. Ellis, who is the #1 breakthrough strategist, another of my coaches and awesome friends. These are topics we talk about on the show. So I would ask your followers to follow me on IG, hit me up in my DMs and say, hey, I heard your talk with therapist Willis, and I want that free gift, the free episode of your show. I will send that to you. Also, for the entire month of March, I'm so excited about this. You heard me earlier in our discussion talk about meditation. In order to help people cultivate more inner peace, I am offering free guided community meditations every Saturday in March at 11 a.m. at the Village Performing Arts and Culture Center, located at 12680 Rockside Road in Garfield Heights. It's behind the Commons that has Big Lots and Marks and Sam Silk's Fish and Chicken. It's in the back of the building where the blue metal panels are. Every Saturday at 11 a.m. I'm doing free guided meditations there. This campaign is called 200 for Peace. The theater where we're doing the guided meditation and sound bath has 200 seats. My wish, but I need help to make this real, is to have 200 people in those seats learning about meditation and doing a short meditation to increase the inner peace. Because remember, I said at the beginning of our talk, what's on the inside manifest on the outside. So if we have that many people coming together just about, hey, let's take 30 minutes to tap into inner peace, imagine how powerful that would be and what we could create to carry forward in our relationships, in our community, right? So every Saturday, 11 a.m. For free. It's free 99. So anybody is welcome to come at the Village Performing Arts Cultural Center in Garfield Heights, behind the plaza at 12680 Rockside Road. And then again, follow me on Instagram. I am _Imani Capri. Facebook, Imani Capri, motivational speaker, radio show host page here on Facebook, YouTube, Imani Capri, TikTok, the Imani Capri. And thank you so much for the invitation to join you today. This was fun.
Absolutely. We have to, reconnect again and get something popping, because this was amazing. I'm looking forward to your talk tomorrow. I'm hoping, I have to double check my schedule to make sure I don't have a client at that time. But are your sessions recorded?
The radio shows are recorded. I am working on being able to make those available on my YouTube channel and setting up some ways to make the episodes available after they air. But
Okay.
I would definitely say write it down, 11 o'clock tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. And what is so awesome about the direction of the show that we're taking this year, I have brought in, like I said, 2 co-hosts, people who are gems in my own life in personal development and growth. And they are amazing Black men. And they get vulnerable. We're talking about trauma bonded relationships tomorrow. These gentlemen open up and talk about some of their own experiences with that. So this is just a beautiful dynamic anyway, in terms of how men, especially Black men, can be vulnerable and create safe spaces for Black men to do that, as well as, us women. So, just tune in. We're trying to grow this conversations, encourage movement. It's not just about having conversations. It's really about having courageous conversations that help people transform their lives in real ways.
Sounds good. I'm excited about it. I'm hoping I don't have an 11 o'clock tomorrow. If I don't, I will be there
Yes,
in
thank
the
you.
space because I
Yes.
think this is super important. And I took all the information down. That's what I was sitting over here trying to type up as you were talking. I want to make sure I have all the information correct. Village Performing Arts Cultural Center, 12860 Rockside Road, Garfield Heights, Ohio, 11 a.m. every Saturday in March. Free guided meditation for free. Campaign 200 for peace, right?
Yep, 200 for peace. And I think it's 12680.
12680. Got it. Thank you. Exchange
Rockside.
those numbers. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ms. Capri, for joining us.
Thank you.
I value your input and I cannot wait to hear more. And hopefully it can bring you back again for something else that
Please do. I love this. I definitely would love to talk to you more about some more collaborative things we can do around healing. And this relationships is such a rich topic. We can go even deeper. So
Right.
yes, let's keep in
Yes.
touch for sure.
Yes, absolutely. All righty. Well, thank you so much. And thank you all, audience for paying attention, staying tuned, watching online on YouTube if you watch on YouTube. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.